Hello, my dear little dreamer. Snuggle into your blankets, let your pillow be soft beneath your head, and take a slow, gentle breath in and out. The day is done, the stars are beginning to sparkle, and it's time for a story. Tonight we're going to visit a faraway kingdom where moonlight glows on castle towers and kindness shines brighter than diamonds. We'll meet a gentle girl with a hopeful heart, a touch of magic, and a pair of very special glass slippers. So close your eyes if you'd like, and let your imagination drift like a silver cloud across the night sky. Our story is about to begin, and it's called Cinderella. Once upon a time, in a peaceful kingdom surrounded by silver rivers and whispering forests, there stood a grand old house with ivy climbing its stone walls. In that house lived a gentle girl with bright eyes and a heart full of kindness. Her name was Ella. When she was very small, her mother would tuck her into bed each night and say, "Have courage and be kind, my little one." Those words settled into Ella's heart like tiny glowing lanterns, lighting her way even after her mother was gone. Years passed, and her father remarried, hoping to bring joy back into their home. But when he, too, left this world, the house grew colder than before. Ella's stepmother was stern and sharp-eyed, and her two stepsisters thought only of themselves. They moved Ella into the small attic room by the chimney, where soft gray ashes floated through the air like sleepy snowflakes. From then on, they called her Cinderella. Each morning, before the sun had fully stretched across the sky, Cinderella would rise. She carried water, scrubbed floors, polished silver, and mended dresses. Though her hands worked tirelessly, her spirit stayed gentle. She hummed little melodies as she swept, and the birds would flutter down to sit beside her. Mice peeked from the corners to listen to her stories. Even the old house seemed warmer when she smiled. At night, when her chores were done and the world felt still, Cinderella would sit by the hearth. She would gaze at the stars through the kitchen window and whisper her dreams into the quiet darkness. She didn't wish for riches or jewels. She wished for belonging, for kindness, for a place where she might be loved just as she was. One afternoon, a royal messenger arrived at the door, dressed in crimson and gold. He carried an invitation sealed with wax and crowned with the king's crest. The palace was hosting a grand ball, 3 evenings of music and dancing, so the prince might meet someone to share his life with. The house erupted in excitement. Her stepsisters shrieked with delight. Fabrics were unrolled, jewels were examined, feathers and ribbons were tossed into the air. Cinderella was busier than ever, sewing gowns late into the night by candlelight. She stitched tiny pearls along hems and pressed silks smooth, though no one offered her rest. "Of course you won't be coming," her stepmother said coolly. "You have nothing suitable to wear." Cinderella nodded quietly, though her heart ached. On the first evening of the ball, she stood at the window as the carriage carried her step-family away. Music drifted faintly from the distant palace, carried by the wind like a secret meant only for her. Alone in the garden, beneath the soft glow of the moon, she finally let her tears fall. "I only wish to see it," she whispered, "just once." And then a warm shimmer of light danced across the grass. From that glow stepped a kind-faced woman with silver hair and eyes that sparkled like dew at sunrise. "My dear child," she said softly, "why do you cry?" Cinderella blinked. "Who are you?" "Someone who believes," the woman replied with a wink, "that every kind heart deserves a little magic. With a gentle wave of her wand, the garden began to change. A pumpkin swelled and shimmered, transforming into a golden carriage with curling vines etched along its sides. The scurrying mice grew into proud white horses. A sleepy dog became a polished coachman, tipping his hat in surprise. And Cinderella's simple dress, oh, how it changed! The fabric glowed pale as moonlight. Layers of shimmering silk flowed like a silver waterfall. Tiny crystals sparkled like stars caught in cloth. On her feet appeared delicate glass slippers, clear and luminous. Cinderella gasped. "But remember," her fairy godmother said gently, "magic borrowed must be returned. When the clock strikes midnight, all will be as it was before." Cinderella nodded, her heart fluttering like a bird taking flight. The palace that evening shone like a dream. Lanterns glowed along marble halls, and music drifted through the air like honey. When Cinderella entered, conversations hushed, not because she glittered, though she did, but because she carried something rarer, quiet grace. The prince noticed her at once. They danced beneath chandeliers that sparkled like constellations. They spoke of small things, gardens, favorite books, the way the river sounded at dawn. With every laugh they shared, Cinderella felt lighter, as though she were finally stepping into the life she had once only whispered about to the stars. Time, however, is a gentle but steady traveler. As the clock began its deep, echoing chime, 1, 2, 3, Cinderella's heart leapt in alarm. At the 12th stroke she turned and ran, her gown shimmering behind her. Down the grand staircase she hurried, and in her rush one glass slipper slipped from her foot. She did not stop. By the time she reached home, the magic had softened back into pumpkins and mice and a simple dress. She pressed her hand to her chest, breathless but smiling, for even if it had been brief, she had danced. The next day the kingdom buzzed with news. The prince had found a glass slipper on the palace steps, and he vowed to search every corner of the land until he found the one whose foot it fit. Carriage by carriage, house by house, the search continued. At last the royal party arrived at Cinderella's home. Her stepsisters pushed and squeezed and tried every trick to make the slipper fit, but it would not. "Let the servant girl try," said the prince quietly. The room filled with laughter, but Cinderella stepped forward calmly. The slipper slid onto her foot as if it had been waiting for her all along. From her apron pocket she drew the second one, and in that moment the prince saw not just the girl from the ball, but the kindness shining steadily in her eyes. Soon after, Cinderella left the attic room behind. Yet she did not forget it. She filled the palace with warmth and laughter. She treated servants with respect. She planted gardens where children could play. And each night, before she slept, she looked at the stars and whispered gratitude into the sky. Because she understood something very important. Magic is wonderful. But kindness is what truly changes a life. And so in a kingdom once quiet and cold, warmth spread gently, like sunlight at dawn. Now the castle windows glow softly in the distance. The music has long since faded. The stars keep their silent watch. And somewhere, if you listen closely, you might hear the faintest echo of slippers dancing across marble floors. And that was the story of Cinderella, a gentle tale of patience, bravery, and the quiet power of kindness. May her story remind you that even when life feels heavy, your light still shines. Keep courage in your heart, Keep kindness in your hands, and trust that your own happy chapters are still being written. Thank you for listening. Now let the stars watch over you and drift into the sweetest of dreams.